Once again, I want to welcome our first-time guests, and it is such an honor to sing praises to our God with you. How awesome it is that we have the freedom to come together and sing and worship and pray. And I think this is going to be a direct word for someone. I don't know exactly who I'm talking to, but I know that this one spoke to me as I was preparing it. And I hope you're ready, because I am. We're going to go into the Gospel of Luke, chapter 18. Gospel of Luke, chapter 18, starting in verse 1. Then Jesus told his disciples a parable to show them that they should always pray and not give up. Always pray and not give up. He said, in a certain town there was a judge who neither feared God nor cared what people thought. And there was a widow in that town who kept coming to him with this plea, grant me justice against my adversary. Grant me justice against my enemy. For some time he refused. But finally he said to himself, even though I don't fear God or care what people think about me, yet because this widow keeps bothering me, I will see that she gets justice, so that she won't eventually come and attack me. He finally gives the widow the justice she deserves. The last phrase that I just read, she won't come and eventually attack me, literally means in the original language to give a black eye to. Now, clearly he's not worried about physical assault. He was just tired of her showing up and giving him a headache. Verse 6, and the Lord said, listen to what the unjust judge says. Will God not bring about justice for his chosen ones, who cry out to him day and night? Will he keep putting them off? I tell you, he will see that they get justice, and quickly. However, when the Son of Man comes, will he find faith on the earth? Will he find faith on the earth? I want to speak to someone who is fighting tonight, who is in the middle of a fight. Is there anyone in here who's got some fight left in them? You're still in the fight. The referee has not called the fight off yet. You're not knocked out yet. The fight is not stopped. You're still somehow standing. This one's for you. Look at your neighbor and give them my title. Tell them, never stop fighting. Now, a little more stern. Never stop fighting.
Never stop fighting.
I remember watching this movie when I was a child, and I got obsessed with this movie. Everyone's probably seen Rocky, right? If you have not. I saw this movie, Rocky, and I went crazy for a few months. So the whole movie is about a boxing match. This whole movie is it's culminating at this boxing match, which is the only boxing match in the movie, and Rocky is definitely the underdog. Everyone knows that Rocky is the underdog. This is supposed to be a squash match. This is supposed to be a publicity stunt for this fighter named Creed, who is clearly the more dominant fighter. He is the better athlete. He's just a better fighter. He's just a better boxer, and it shows because Creed beats the snot out of Rocky for the first half. He just beats him up, and you start to feel bad for Rocky. And everyone expects Rocky to be knocked out because Creed predicted that I'm going to knock you out in 3 rounds. Round 3 comes and goes. Somehow Rocky is still standing. He was not able to knock out Rocky, which was expected. Every other fighter would have gone down and stayed down, but somehow this man just keeps getting up. He just never stops fighting. There is no knockout, and eventually the fight ends, and somehow Creed wins because he's the better fighter. But the crowd is now chanting Rocky's name. They're going, Rocky, Rocky, Rocky. Everyone is just cheering on his name because he has finally won the crowd over with his relentless perseverance, because he just refused to stay down. And by the way, if you lack motivation to go to the gym, if you're a man, I'm speaking to all the men out here watching online. If you have a lack of motivation to go to the gym, just watch Rocky one time. And if you are not doing sit-ups by the end of it, nothing in the world can motivate you. And I got crazy when I saw this movie because I remember in India, I didn't have these fancy protein shakes. We didn't have the protein shakes that I take now So I did what Rocky did, which is crack some eggs in a cup, stir them up, and drink them whole. Disgusting, right? I know. Hey, you do what you gotta do, depending on your situation. But today I want to talk to you about this widow who had a lot of fight left in her. A lot of fight left in her. And Jesus tells this parable to his disciples, teaching them the need for prayer. Teaching them why prayer is so important and to keep praying even when your prayers are not being answered. Even when there's a door in front of you that never is open after you've been praying and nothing happens. And Jesus still says to keep on praying. Keep praying diligently. Do not stop praying. And prayer was something that was very important to Jesus. Very important to Jesus. He himself prayed every chance he got. Jesus made time for prayer. He didn't just find time for prayer, he made time for prayer. In a time where thousands and thousands of people were following Jesus to be healed, thousands of people were following him to be heard because they wanted to hear what he had to teach. He was viral before the word viral existed. Everyone was following Jesus. Everyone was crazy about Jesus. And Jesus, refusing to bask in that glory and bask in all that attention, he would leave everything behind and find a secluded place and sit in the presence of his Father. He made time to pray, even when he didn't have time, even for himself. Now, knowing how much Jesus, who is God himself, knowing how much he liked to pray, knowing how much Jesus liked to pray, I want to put a mirror in front of us, in front of you and I. I want to ask us this question. I know that we are very busy. All of our lives are very chaotic. But what priority does prayer get in your life? Jesus uses this widow to show us the need for persistent prayer. Because she kept showing up. Her answer, the answer that she kept getting was no. No one wants to see you. No one wants to hear from you. The judge told you what he's going to do. The decision he's made, why do you keep coming back? But she still kept showing up. She suffered injustice, but she kept showing up. Was told no, she kept showing up. The judge didn't care. She kept showing up. They told her, you can't come in here anymore. Don't be around here anymore. Didn't matter to her. She didn't give up. They said, this place is for more important people. We don't want you out here. She didn't stop fighting. Her enemy stole from her and was probably gloating in front of her. She kept on coming. She didn't just accept no for an answer. She probably said to the judge, I don't care how long it takes for you to give me justice. I don't care if it's the end of my life. It's the last thing I do. I'm going to make sure that I get justice from you, and I will keep on fighting for my rights. I will keep on bothering you until you give me the answer, until you give me justice. I will keep on knocking on your door for the rest of my life. And this is what Jesus means when he says, pray without giving up. The fight that this widow had. Jesus is using this widow's fight to show you that is the same mindset that we need to bring towards prayer. That we will keep on praying even if the answer is not what we were wanting to be. Even if everything is going against us, even if life is falling apart, even though nothing makes sense to me, I will keep on praying. I will keep on praising, even if my circumstances aren't right. Because if circumstances determine your relationship with God, if circumstances determine if you're going to pray or not, then be ready to be a flaky Christian. If we want our life to look right before we start praying, before we give our time to God, get ready to not be committed. There's this phenomenon happening in our culture right now. In this crazy economy where everything is just so expensive and people are working themselves to death and still can't afford anything. More and more young people are finding out that they cannot afford houses, that they can't buy houses, so they are taking a lot longer to buy their own homes. Most of them are choosing to stay longer with their parents because sometimes you can't even pay rent and you're working full time. Morale is at an all-point low. So people show up to work. They come to work, and they only put the effort that is required on paper. They don't put their heart and soul into it, into whatever they're doing, because they never reap the benefits of the hard work that they are doing. And I was reading about this. There's many articles written about this, and experts are calling it the quiet quit. I have horrible ADHD, so I understand what it means, because when I was little and I would be sitting in a class and the teacher would be teaching, and sometimes the teacher was in India or as loud as I am because they want kids to pay attention, but because of my ADHD, I could be in the middle of the classroom. But my mind wasn't there. My mind and my imagination would take me to a place far away. I was physically present, but I wasn't really there. And that is happening in our time. You are physically there, but your mind is somewhere else. Your body is at work, but your thoughts aren't. People don't want to be there, but they are still there. They don't believe that it's making any difference in the world. So why should I care? They haven't quit, but they have given up in their minds. They have given up in silence. And unfortunately, that quiet quit movement is happening in the church right now. Because we have felt like this widow many, many, many times in my life I can think of. That I have felt like this poor old woman. You have tried time and time and time again. But you always seem to get a door slammed in your face. And you don't want to disappoint others. And you are tired of being disappointed in yourself. So you just don't tell anybody. You just struggle quietly. You show up to church because that is what you have always done. Because that's how you grew up. Church on Sundays has become a part of our routine. You come and you sing, but we don't worship. You come and you sing, but we really are not worshiping. We believe that God is real. We believe that He is powerful. But we also know that how broken and how sinful and how messed up we are and how many times we have failed, so we just don't expect anything from Him. A lot of times I have come to church because I'm afraid of going to hell. Not because I believe that Jesus has specifically created a place reserved for me in His Father's house. See, there's a difference in between living in fear, being afraid of God, and living in His love, and living for Him. There's no fire left. There's no desire left. There's no fight left. Just routine. In and out. And some of us might have accepted defeat and stopped fighting. But the one thing that Jesus is teaching in this parable, through this widow, is that we can never stop fighting. And you know what? Prayer is how we fight. Prayer is how we fight our battles. Not with swords in our hands, not with guns in our hands, not with weapons, but holding God's word in our hearts. Not by taking control of the situation, but absolute total surrender. We fight, like we sang, on our knees. Sadly, the modern church has lost the meaning of prayer. And that is why we are starting off this year, right, with prayer and fasting to intentionally remind us to pray. Lauren and I were talking last year at the end of 2023, in the last remaining few days, because we really wanted to seek God and put our minds right and to figure out what God is trying to show us, what He's trying to tell us in 2024, what He wants us to see in our lives. And the theme of this year, which was God first, putting God first this year, sacrifice, personal sacrifices to honor God and give Him priority in our lives. And in that time, in that discussion, I realized that I am a pastor whose prayer life needs work, needs improvement. How sad is that? And I realized that it's not just me. Many friends that I've spoken to, and I asked them, when do you pray? How do you pray? And people have said, well, I pray when I'm driving to work. I pray when I'm doing my dishes. I'm praying when I'm cleaning the house. Prayer has become a secondary activity to something else, like when you're doing something else, like some of us like to watch TV when we're eating. Prayer has become secondary like that. If you really believe that God is important to you, and I know we should be praying, doing whatever we're doing, because God loves to hear from you. He wants you to do that. But if He is that important to you, if He is as real to you as you are to yourself, if you believe that He has been good to you and your families, don't you think He deserves our undivided attention? Where did devotion to God go? When did the believer stop praying? How do we get here? And Jesus uses this widow to show us what prayer is supposed to be like. And if you read the Gospels, you'll find out Jesus literally lays out a plan how we should pray and why we should pray. And Jesus tells us in the Gospels that prayer is an intentional act. You are actually going to your prayer closet. There's a place that you go to. It's your own secret place. And it's the only activity you do. Prayer is not a secondary act. Prayer is the only act. You have to treat prayer like it's the most important part of your day, because it is. Prayer is the most important part. Because prayer is literally a meeting, one-on-one meeting with God. You are in the presence of the Most High, King of the universe. It is the most important thing that most of us will do all day. God gets your undivided attention because He deserves your undivided attention. Think about the closest relationship that you have in your life, right? Think of the person that is the most important person in your life, the person that you love the most. Now, tell me how good your relationship will be if the only time you talk to them was a couple minutes every other day. Will that relationship flourish? Will that relationship survive? I don't think so. My dad always had the saying, and he said, distance creates distortion. Couldn't be more accurate when it comes to prayer. If you don't pray and make intentional time for prayer, then I'm sorry to say, we might not have a relationship with God. We might just be acquaintances of God, not sons and daughters. We sometimes treat God just like walking in the middle of the street and seeing someone, hi, how you doing? Good to see ya. And then next time you see them, you say hi again, because that is what our relationship has become. And other people-pleasing teachers and preachers might say that you can still be a Christian. They might say that, but in this church, we have no intention of giving you false instruction and false hope. If we don't pray, there's not much separating us from the world. There's not much separating us from the rest of the world. There are many good people who follow other religions, who do good works. But what sets us apart is that we have a relationship, a close, intimate relationship with our Father in heaven. And there is no relationship if there is no prayer in your life, if we don't have a prayer life. I think we are becoming a culture of Christians who come to church every Sunday and think we have fulfilled our duty by being here on Sunday and praying before we eat our meals. Kingdom, I don't want us to be a church. I don't want us to be Christians who don't pray. Verse 7 literally says, Jesus says in verse 7, will not God bring about justice for His chosen ones who cry out to Him day and night? Who cry out to Him day and night. And for many of us, we have a hard time finding out just to make 15 minutes out of our day to devote to God. 15 minutes. What if God used the same logic and same attitude with me? We expect Him to give our undivided attention. What if He started using the same attitude with me? Well, you know what? I don't want to give you enough time right now. I'm too busy for you. I got 7 other billion people who are, that deserve my attention as well. I don't really need to give you time because you're too dirty for me. You are too bad for me. Look at the things that you've done. Why shouldn't I give this time to someone who is actually trying to live a better life than you? Where would I be if that is how God started to treat me? And I come from a place where I have literally seen people's churches burn down, where I have literally seen people being killed for their faith. I have literally known people who are no longer alive because they chose to follow Jesus and because they chose to do the command, to follow the commands that Jesus told them to do, told us to do. Go and make disciples. So they go and make disciples in these rural places where there's other religions and people are extremists, but they are following the gospel and they're giving the good news to people. And some of them lose their lives. Some of them lose their families because sometimes following Jesus in other cultures means you're saying goodbye to everything else in your life. And it's these people who are praying day and night, day in and day night, and every single night. And I don't understand when I hear these people and their testimonies and how they have been praying all night so that they can get some freedom, some comfort, and God would show up in a mighty way and just allow them to worship in freedom. And I am here sitting at my home, and I don't even give time 15 minutes a day, 5 minutes a day to God sometimes. When I think about believers on the other side of the world, it puts things into perspective. That my life, my spiritual life, is not where it's supposed to be. After the blessing that I have to be here and come and sing and come and worship. Puts things into perspectives. Yeah, we might not be fighting persecutors. And we might not have the same battles that our other brothers and sisters have. But we do have our own battles. Most of our fights that we face every day are not in a boxing ring like Rocky. Most of the battles that we fight are spiritual and mental. You don't have an opponent you're not facing an opponent who's ready to knock you out, but you're facing a devil who's wanting to knock you down, who's trying to destroy your lives, destroy your marriages, ruin your faith, ruin your peace, take away your joy, make you restless, make you anxious. And someone might be in the middle of a battle right now. A personal fight that no one knows about except for you. That people don't know how long you've been fighting for. How long you have been hurting, and how long you have been wanting freedom, and how long you have been wanting change. But no matter how many times you have tried, how long you have been fighting, there's always something waiting to trip you up. You've lost relationships, people have walked out, and you have felt what it feels like to lose a fight. And some of us are living in the aftermath of a lost battle, wondering if we will ever recover from this. And when we have lost enough fights, and when we have met with silence on the other end of prayer, it is our faith that hangs in the balance. And I have met many people who have lost faith because they, or someone they love, lost a fight. The difficulties of life can burden us into giving up on prayer. Because a lot of times we believe that it doesn't work. We start to believe that it doesn't work, and God doesn't want to answer us. And many times we stop praying because our prayers aren't answered the way we would like them to, and our prayers are not answered in the time frame that we wanted God to answer. Have you ever been disappointed by your prayers? Sometimes God didn't say yes, and sometimes He did not answer at all. You tried praying, and the pain was still there. You prayed, and the sickness was still there. You prayed, and the addiction was still there. You prayed that they would stay together, but your parents divorced anyway. You prayed that your marriage would work out and it would get better, but they left anyway. You prayed that you would get the job, but you didn't. You prayed that this addiction would leave. You prayed that this loneliness would end, but it remained. You prayed, God, take this thorn out of my flesh. And He did. And many would stop praying at this point. And that is why Jesus used this parable to tell us that even if the answer is no, even if the answer is go away, I can't be bothered, you still keep on fighting. You still keep on praying. And sometimes it feels like I don't even know what I'm praying for, because the things that I prayed for didn't work out. And so now, what I wanted, I no longer have. The change I wanted, nothing really changed. So what do I pray for now? What do I have left to pray for? Jesus says, still, come on and keep praying. And who knows how long this widow went to this judge. If you read this text again, you will find out that Jesus does not give us a specific time that she went to him for 2 years. She went to him for 6 months. We don't know how long she bothered and hounded this judge. We don't know how long she knocked on his door. Maybe Jesus doesn't tell us that because He doesn't want you to know. He is showing you, as long as it takes, you keep on praying. That's why it's called the parable of the persistent widow. Pray consistently. Pray continuously. Keep on praying, even if it doesn't work out, even if things get worse. Come on, keep on praying, because when there are things happening in your life that you cannot control, prayer is the only thing that will give control back to where it belongs. Sometimes we need to consider what Paul says, that He can do immeasurably more than what we can ask or imagine. Even if it didn't work out, Did you consider the possibility that he is God and he can turn things around and he can give you better than what you were asking for? If there's anything that I can learn from this widow, is the fact that many people would have simply told her, it's not working out. Just look for something else. Try something new. This is clearly not working. Just switch directions. Why do you keep wasting time and keep knocking on the same door when the answer is no? It's been so long. Maybe he just doesn't want this for you. You were dealt a wrong hand in life. Life isn't fair. So let's keep on moving. But she refused. She said, I'm not leaving. I'm not leaving because I have a promise. I'm not leaving. She's not going to stop fighting because she was fighting for what belonged to her. No matter how long it takes. Maybe it is time that we learn to live the same way. That I will keep on praying until I get my joy back. I will keep on praying until I get my peace back. Until my relationships are fixed. I will keep on praying until I get back from the devil what he stole from me. I will keep on praying until my son comes back. I will keep on praying until my daughter comes back to church. The enemy would not be fighting you if God's hand was not on you. He wouldn't be trying so hard if God was not fighting for you. See, a thief only comes to steal what is valuable. He will not come to steal something that is not valuable. And you are so valuable to God. You have so much value to him, even if you feel like you have no value. Prayer is how we fight. And the one thing about the enemy is that he is going to be persistent. He is going to be consistent with his attacks. Just because you beat him once through God's power doesn't mean that he just hangs up his gloves and goes home. The enemy is going to be persistent. As long as you're alive, I can guarantee you, he will keep on attacking. He will not stop fighting until the end of your life. So what does that mean for us? We cannot stop fighting until the end of our lives. We can't stop fighting. And some battles are lifelong. For some battles, we can never stop fighting. Ask anyone who was chained to something before, who has ever gone through addictions. Some battles are lifelong. And the enemy is setting up traps. He just wants you to slip. Setting traps along the way. And I have experienced this in my own life. That's why I can tell you that we cannot give the devil a foothold, any opportunity. Because the Bible tells us, what does Peter say? That he is prowling around like a roaring lion. He's walking around just waiting for someone to devour. And for all the fighters here, for all my fighters who still have some fight in you, let me show you this illustration. Here is a line. I was looking for a rope, I couldn't find one. There's the modern masculinity for you. I didn't have a rope in my garage. So I'm going to have to do with this, and I think this will do. This little line. It works better because it's a thin line. Here's a line. And here you are. This is the good side. This is the side where you're holy. This is the side where you're innocent. This is the side when you're set apart. And you're close in the presence of God. And then this side, are you guys okay with being the bad side for now? The dark side. This is the side that you don't like. When you cross over to this side, this is the side of you that you hate. This is the side, this is the part that makes you hate yourself. This is the line between good and bad. This is the side which is good. This is the side which is team enemy. This is the wrong side. And most of us will find ourselves right here. And this line is very close to us. This line is very close. And the hardest battle that you will ever fight, which will be for the rest of your life, is standing right on the edge of this line. You can try going all the way that way, but this line will follow you there. You can go anywhere you want, but this border will be right with you wherever you are in life. And all it takes is that one glass. All it takes is that one cup. All it takes is that one click, that one choice, that one decision, and you have crossed over and you have given over to your indulgences. And now you're in quicksand and you're trying to come out, but you will keep sinking lower because that is how things work. That is how the difference is between God's side, between your holy side and your unholy side. Just a very thin line. And you have to keep fighting with everything you've got to make sure that you don't cross over to the other side. And that is the way life is. And a lot of people live like this. Something good, something bad. I think sometimes I find myself right here. And many times I find myself right here. But this is just one step away. And if I stop fighting, I will not even realize that I have crossed over. Wouldn't even know. You have to fight like your life depends on it, because it does. It does. You have to fight like you're going to die if you cross over, because a part of you does. You have to fight it with all your life. Because for some of us, the enemy has mastered a weakness against you. I know it's not fair. I know that this is not fair. So make it even. He brings his army to attack you with all his force. You bring your own reinforcements. Start living in prayer. Start battling him with prayer, because when you start praying, you invite the Holy Spirit, the literal presence of God. And he fights your battles for you, because this battle you cannot fight on your own. You were never meant to fight on your own. Because I remember my God saying in Exodus, the Lord will fight your battles. And some of us are going to live in very close proximity to this line for the rest of our lives. And you have to fight. All it takes is this. All it takes is one step. And it will always be like a magnetic pull, pulling you towards this line. But you have to fight. Because this line will never go away. This partition will always be here. You have to fight it with everything you've got, because your flesh, your natural tendencies, will keep pulling you towards this direction. We can never stop fighting. Many people have the desire to be clean, to be free, for change. But the desire is not enough. They have the desire, but they don't show up. It's the quiet quit. They have stopped trying. You want freedom, but you don't let go of your chains. This woman showed up every day, every single day. Because sometimes you've got to put on your boxing gloves and say, I am not going to stop fighting. Because I know that the enemy has lost, but he's still fighting for my soul. He's still fighting to win in my life. And I am not giving up on my God. I am not giving up on my faith. I am not giving up on my hope. I will not throw away my inheritance. I will not throw away the sacrifice and everything that God has done for me on the cross. I will not just stop fighting. I have to keep on fighting, because if Jesus kept on fighting when he was hanging on the cross, and he was fighting for his breath, and he couldn't breathe, but he kept on fighting. If he could fight in that moment, then I have no other choice but to keep on fighting. Keep on praying, and keep on holding on to my God, so I don't misuse and abuse the grace that he has given me. I cannot stop fighting, because this is all I have. My faith is all I have. My salvation is all I have, because if I lose this, what else is left to live for? And Jesus finishes this parable by telling us, listen to what the unjust judge says. And God is not like the unjust judge. And some of us need to stop looking at him like he is the unjust judge. That he is tired of hearing from you. That he is looking at you with disappointment. That he wouldn't want someone like me. That I should stop bothering him, because why would he look at someone like me? If God sent his son to die for you, do you really think that he is getting tired of listening from you? If he was tired of you, then there would be no reason for the cross. He will never get tired of you. But we can get tired. Some of us are tired of fighting. You have accepted defeat. You have quiet quit. You have stopped coming to the throne. And we don't ask. And we don't pray. And the question that he asks at the end is, when the Son of Man comes back, will he find faith on this earth? My question to you is, We don't know if he comes back before our time is over, or we're going to go see him before he comes back. I don't know what the timeline is. The Bible tells us that Jesus says, I don't know, just the Father. And I don't know if he comes while I'm still alive, but if he does, will he find me faithful? Will he find you faithful? Will he find the evidence of faith in your life? Will he find the fight left in you? Are you going to fight for your faith? Are you going to keep on fighting whatever situation that you have going on in your life? Whatever heartbreak that you're going through in your life right now, will you continue to keep on fighting? Because when you fight the enemy, you're fighting for him. So fight for your joy. Fight for your peace. Fight for the goodness that God intends for you to have in your life. Don't let the enemy steal what God has sent you. One thing that I've realized about the devil, he is a porch pirate. That's what he is. He's a porch pirate. He can't stop God from sending gifts to you. He can't stop Amazon from sending gifts. So he tries to intercept it before you get it. Don't let him steal what belongs to you. Keep on fighting. Be like this widow. Yeah, it didn't work out, but I'm going to still keep going back to him because I know that he has still got me, that he still cares for me, that he still loves me. I will keep on going back to him. I don't care if my life looks like this. I'm going to still keep going back to him. And I want to finish this message by reminding you that one of the last things that Jesus did before he was betrayed and arrested, when he was in the Garden of Gethsemane, what was he doing? He was praying because he knew the fight that was ahead of him. And he asked God, please take this cup away from me. What was the answer? No. His prayer wasn't answered the way he wanted to. But guess what praying did? It gave him the strength to do what he came to do. Sweating blood, literally, scared. He was afraid too. But he did what he came to do, and he fought. So don't stop fighting now. Look at how far you've come. If you've been thinking about just giving up, stop. Don't stop fighting now. We can never stop fighting. Some of us have been fighting our own faith. That I don't know if I believe the correct things. I don't know if I have faith in God. I don't know if I have any faith left. Never stop fighting. Don't stop believing now. Generations after you are relying on you to keep on fighting because there are certain battles that you have to win right now, certain battles that you cannot pass on to the next generation. They are relying on you to not stop, to just never stop fighting. Your children and your children's children are relying on you so that they don't have to fight the battles that you do. And the attack is greater on those that have a big calling. Let me ask you again, is there any fight left in you? And the Rocky movie ends by him not winning the fight. All those drinking eggs didn't really work out. He loses the fight. But the beautiful thing about our story is that we've already won. We have already won the victory because Jesus has won the victory for us without us even doing anything. So as long as you keep fighting, as long as you don't give up, you will see the deliverance that God brings in your life. But we can never stop fighting. And I want to leave you with the promise that Jesus leaves his disciples with. He says that justice will come, deliverance will come. God will not delay. We may think that he is delayed a little bit, but his timing is the only one that matters. His timing is the only thing that matters. And even if it doesn't happen in your time, it doesn't mean that it won't happen. Let's stand.